إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to another halaqah. Today we're continuing in our series of the 40 Hadith of Imam Nawawy, rahimahullah ta'ala, and we have reached Hadith number 4. Hadith number 4 is a medium-length Hadith, not very short and not very long, and it goes as follows. وعن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه, on the authority of Abu Abdurrahman Abdullah bin Mas'ud, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah be pleased with him. Abdullah bin Mas'ud is one of the more well-known companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He actually is considered to be from the early Muslims, one of the few early Muslims. Some of the books of history, they mention that when Abdullah bin Mas'ud became Muslim and he first encountered the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did so at a very young age, at the age of 13, 14 years old. So this places Abdullah bin Mas'ud in a very special age group, because you can imagine the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, obviously they were all types of ages. You had companions, both men and women, who were older than the Prophet ﷺ. You had those that were close to the age of the Prophet ﷺ, and you had those that were younger than the Prophet ﷺ. But mainly, the companions, at least on the men's side, you could divide them up as those who were the senior companions, senior in age, that they were close to the age of the Prophet ﷺ, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and so on. And then you have the younger companions, such as the very young ones, Anas bin Malik and Abdullah bin Umar and so on, Abdullah bin Abbas and so on. These companions were very young, and by the time the Prophet ﷺ had passed away, they were around 15 years old, perhaps a little bit older. Abdullah bin Mas'ud is unique in the sense that he, in terms of his age, he is considered to be not a senior but a junior companion. But in terms of his knowledge of Islam and particularly the Quran, he is considered to be a senior companion. So you have both things found in this one companion, Abdullah bin Mas'ud. His age was very young, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with knowledge that made him be mentioned around the other companions who are much older and senior to him in age. He says, حدثنا, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, حدثنا Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us or narrated to us, وهو صادق المصدوق. And he refers, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he refers to the Prophet ﷺ in a very unique way. He says, the Prophet ﷺ is al-Sadiq and he is al-Masduq. These two characters, or part of a character, it shows the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ. How does it do so? As-Sadiq in the Arabic language, it is used to describe the one who speaks the truth. The one who speaks the truth is As-Sadiq. But not only did the Prophet ﷺ speak the truth, the revelation that was passed on to him, but he is also al-Masduq, bima'na that people believe in what he is saying. they are verifying and coming to the same conclusions that the Prophet ﷺ is speaking about. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ was known for even before Islam. Even before Islam, before the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet, he was known as Muhammad al-Amin. Muhammad al-Amin. This was the name that they added to know who you were talking about. Okay, the laqab, if you want. And al-Amin means the trustworthy one. Okay? Not only is the Prophet ﷺ truthful in his speech, but also in his actions. A person does not become trustworthy until you trust them 100%. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, even before Islam, even before he became the Prophet of Allah, he was known as being a trustworthy and truthful person. And this is what Abdullah bin Mas'ud is reiterating, repeating here. And also, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, it shows his intellect. It shows his intellect. Why, of all the names and attributes of the Prophet ﷺ, does he choose to emphasize the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ? He could have mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ is the most generous of all people, which is true. But the reason why he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ is speaking the truth and people accept this truth from him, it is because of the contents of the Hadith that we are about to mention. The contents of the Hadith that we are about to mention. Because the things that are being mentioned in this Hadith, they deal with the ghaib, the unseen. And when it comes to the ghaib, the unseen, we have no way of knowing or proving it, because it is something that is beyond our vision, beyond our senses, so that we believe in the Prophet ﷺ. So, in other words, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he is bringing our attention, telling us that what you're about to hear, it does not come from just anyone. This is not something that someone is making up on the spot, but rather the one who is speaking is no other than the Prophet ﷺ himself. So what did the Prophet ﷺ say? He said, إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ يُجْمَعُ خَلْقُهُ فِي بَطْنِ أُمِّهِ. Any one of you, from amongst you, their creation is gathered, put together inside the womb, the stomach of the mother. Excuse me. So this hadith deals with the creation of human beings itself. And it is something that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and in particular the society that the Prophet ﷺ lived in, this was something that was not knowledge that people had. This was not knowledge that people had. This amount of detail that the Prophet ﷺ is about to give is something that the society at that time might not know. And I emphasize that because often what happens is when we mention as Muslims that the Prophet ﷺ had this type of knowledge, people will counter and they will say, well, people in China had that knowledge, 100 or 500 years before the Prophet ﷺ. And that might be true, but for the Prophet ﷺ to have that knowledge at that time, in that place in the world, it is something that is very highly unlikely to such a degree that it becomes impossible. Because not only does the Prophet ﷺ mention what we know today, but he goes beyond it and he mentions things that people still do not understand until today. And we live now in the 21st century, and yet we cannot see or prove the things that the Prophet ﷺ is mentioning to us. So this creation, first of all, we need to understand that human beings, the creation of human beings is two ways. There's two ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. One refers to the initial creation, meaning the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam and then Hawa, his wife. This is a separate type, and this is the first type of creation. The second type of creation of human beings is the one, the biological way that we know today, where a man and a woman come together in marriage and they have a child together. Now, the DNA, the material from the man mixes with that of the woman. Okay? This mixing, notice how the Prophet ﷺ says, يُجْمَعُ خَلْقُهُ, it is gathered. So this shows that human beings, the way that they are created is, part of it is from the man and the other part is from the woman. And that is put together and it creates the human being. فِي بَطْنِ أُمِّهِ, in the stomach or the womb of the mother. Excuse me. 40 يوما نطفة. For 40 days, 40 days, this creation is taking form. And this first stage is referred to in the Hadith as nutfa, this wetness. Okay, so the wetness of the man and the wetness of the woman come together, and this creation starts forming. ثم يكون علقة مثل ذلك, and then after that it becomes an alaqa, which literally means something that attaches. And this precise description, again, it is something that the Prophet ﷺ would not be able to know, and it further proves the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ. So it moves from stage to stage. So the first stage is nutfa, and then it becomes an alaqa, and then ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك, and then for another 40 days it becomes a mudgha. And mudgha in Arabic, it means something that is chewed, something that is chewed or resembles something that is chewed. So you have three stages here: nutfa, alaqa, and mudgha. 40 days at each stage. What does that mean? It makes 40 plus 40 plus 40, or 40 times 3, which is 120. At that moment, at 120 days, something happens, something crucial happens. And what is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it through the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith. ثم يرسل الملك فينفخ فيه الروح. And at that stage, at 120 days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the angel, an angel with a command to blow into that new creation its ruh, its spirit, its soul. Okay? Now, when the angel is doing this, again, this is part of the ghaib. So in simple terms, as Muslims, we believe that life itself, the soul, enters the body at 120 days old. Okay, before that, this piece of flesh, it is lifeless. It is lifeless. But the angel has more instructions to complete. And another such instruction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the angel with is وَيُؤْمَرُ بِأَرْبَعِ كَلِمَاتٍ. And the angel is instructed, commanded 4 words or 4 things. The first is بِكَتْبِ رِزْقِهِ. The angel at that stage, the moment this creation comes into life, comes into existence, the angel writes down how much rizq, how much sustenance, food, income, whatever sustenance the person will have throughout their whole life. This is the moment that the angel writes it down. وَأَجَلِهِ, and the life of that person. At that moment in time, this human being has not even been born yet, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the angel to write it down. And whatever the angel writes down, it is the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that angel. وَعَمَلِهِ, and his actions. The actions of this unborn child. At that moment in time, it does not have any sins. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the future. Allah knows what this person will do. وَعَمَلِهِ وَشَقِيٌّ أَوْ سَعِيدٌ أَوْ أَمْ سَعِيدٌ, whether this person will be from the people of the hellfire, shaqi, or sa'id, he will be happy and be amongst the people of Jannah. So these are the 4 things that are written for the person. Now, when human beings advance in their technology, they learn new things, they're better adapted at life, they make improvements in science and so on. Every time human beings feel like they are the ones that are in charge. They feel like they understand everything and they know how everything happens. When a hadith like this is presented to them, and other verses in the Quran, for example, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثَ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions a few things that only belong to Him in terms of knowledge. First of all, Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ, to Allah belongs the knowledge of the hour, when Yawm al-Qiyamah will be. وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثَ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down the rain that is needed. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and Allah is the one who knows what is inside the womb. What will some people tell you today? They will tell you, they'll come up and they'll say, oh, it's not only Allah that knows, we know too. I go to the doctor does an ultrasound scan, and they're able to tell me, is the baby alive? Is the baby healthy? Is the baby a boy or a girl? They're able to tell me that, so I can see it, so this is not something that only belongs to Allah. But what people fail to realize is that the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing compared to the knowledge of His creation. You might be able to see on that monitor whether the baby is a boy or a girl, but will you know when the baby will die? Do you know what job this baby will get? What type of sustenance this baby will get? Do you know whether this baby will end up in Jannah or Jahannam? This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has complete knowledge of. So in other words, when it comes to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is far more than the knowledge that His creation will ever have. And then the Prophet ﷺ mentions a very interesting point, and he ends this hadith with it. And he says, فَوَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ. In some narrations it says, فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. And both of them are a qasam, an oath that the Prophet ﷺ used to take. Okay? It is, in simple words, in simple terms, it is like the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Wallahi, by Allah. فَوَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ, verily, anyone or one amongst you, لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ, he will do the deeds of the people of Jannah. حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع, until the only thing that separates them and Jannah is dhira', an arm's length. Okay, this is a measurement that the Arabs used to use. This dhira', meaning that the person is very close. And the Arabs, they were very creative with the different measurements that they would have. And some of them would be the official things that they would use, and some would be more for expression. Okay? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions when the Prophet ﷺ met Jibreel, he says, فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى, فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى, meaning that he was as close as Hosseini, two bows, the length of two bows, or adna, or even closer than that. Okay, so these are just expressions. The culture at that time, the Arabs used to measure things in different ways, and this is one of those ways of measuring. So the Prophet ﷺ saying this person will be so close to Jannah. Only arm's length that is between them and entering Jannah. And what happens then? فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابِ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. Then the person, the book, meaning the book of the decree, the qadr, will take over. And the person will start doing things, actions of the people of Jahannam, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, and they will enter Jahannam. And the opposite is true. The Prophet ﷺ then said, وَإِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. And the opposite, a person will do the actions or the acts of the people of the fire until there is only an arm's length between them and the hellfire, and the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take over. فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابِ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ, and then they start doing the deeds of Jannah, فَيَدْخُلُهَا, and they will enter Jannah. Rawāhu al-Bukhari. Now this hadith, if it's not understood properly, your first reaction is, isn't this unfair? Isn't it unfair for a person to work for a long time to enter Jannah, and then at the very end, the decree comes and the person goes to Jahannam? However, what we need to understand from the very beginning is the Islamic, the Muslim concept that when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jalla is never unjust. وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, is never unjust towards His slaves. Okay? So what can make us understand this a little bit better? Well, what can make us understand this a bit better is another version of this hadith, another riwayah, where there is a crucial word that adds meaning to this hadith, and that word or that phrase is فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ. فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ. In other words, what is apparent to people. So how would this hadith read with that addition? Let's find out. Those versions of the hadith goes, إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ. So in other words, what the person is doing is the deeds of the people of Jannah, but he was never, or she was never, from the people of Jannah. And this is the crucial thing that we fail to understand often with this hadith, is we think that just because the person is doing the deeds of the people of Jannah, that they will automatically be from the people of Jannah. But that is not true. The Prophet ﷺ himself here is saying, فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ, what is apparent to people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the truth. And no one can fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happens to such a person? They might be the same people who come to the masjid, the same people who read the Quran, the same people who fast in the month of Ramadan, but their intentions are completely gone, or completely wrong. They do it for anything other than for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? The Arabs, they say, al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. Al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. Meaning that this person, the meaning of the word is the reward or the compensation is reflecting it is the same that the person did. To explain it in simple terms, this person, what did they try to do? They tried to trick the people. They tried to trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do to them? He tricks them in the same way that they try to trick him. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows them that all that they did was for nothing. All that they did was for nothing. And they end up in Jahannam wa riyadu billah. And the opposite is true. The person who does things, the actions of the people of the hellfire, right? But فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ, what is apparent to the people. We do not know what is inside this person's heart. We do not know whether this person will repent. And this is why we hear so many hadith and so many reminders of the dangers of judging people. You have people today who will type long messages and write long emails abusing other people and making allegations and saying this and that and the other. But at the end of the day, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. There is a story of a woman that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, a woman who used to be a prostitute. And you can imagine back in the day, there was no social services, there was no social security. Either you work or you don't have enough to feed yourself. So this woman must have worked every single day to make a little bit of money to feed herself. Every single day engaging in haram. If any person saw that woman, any Muslim, they would say, this woman is a very bad woman. But what ended up happening? She saw a dog and she gave the dog water. She saw the dog was thirsty and she gave that dog water. And because of that kind act, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave her. So it is possible for a person to do the deeds or the actions of the people of hellfire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is inside that person's heart, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives them and guides them to the truth. So this hadith, it shows us so many things, shows us the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ, that he is speaking about things that until today we cannot know through testing or verifying, but we believe in him. Right? And when it comes to the qadr, it gives us an insight and makes us understand that ultimately it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that judges. Yes, in terms of things between us in Islam, we have the right to judge. We know that we judge by the Quran. So if a person makes a mistake, let's say a person steals from another person, then as Muslims we don't say only Allah can judge. No, then we step in and we make sure that justice is given. Right? However, when it comes to the akhirah, saying that the person is lost or a person is going to go to Jahannam or go to Jannah, this is something that as Muslims, it is actually haram for us to make such judgments. Even on a person that we might know, right? Well, the only thing that we can do as Muslims is we mention what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. So if a person is a kafir, disbelieves in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they die, then Muslim belief is that that person will be in Jahannam. But do we go up to random people and point fingers and say, you will go to Jahannam? No, we do not do that. Okay? And the opposite is true, meaning that we believe that every Muslim believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who dies upon Iman will end up in Jannah. But does that mean that we go around and we point at specific individuals and we'll say, I will be in Jannah or you will be in Jannah? No, we do not. So this is what we mean when we leave the affair to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The scholars, they put it in a very beautiful way. They say, نحن نحكم بالظواهر. We judge based on what is apparent. Okay, the zahir, the apparent, what is on the outside, because we cannot open up a person's intentions, their heart, and see. And then the scholars they say, "Wallahu yatawalla as-sara'ir," and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of the sara'ir, of the inside, the intention, and so on. So for us as human beings, as Muslims, if we see someone that is drunk, then we advise them. It's not enough for that person to say, for example, oh, I had good intentions, right? Or if a person kills another person and they say, I had good intentions, we say your intentions are between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you have to face the consequences for these actions. So this, in short, is the tafsir or the sharh rather of this hadith, and inshallah we will continue in the coming classes. We will stop here, and if anyone has any questions through Zoom or elsewhere, we will give some time to answer those questions. وجزاكم الله خيرا.